Community Conservation Fisheries in KAZA is the European Union-funded initiative that helps with the establishment of community-based sustainable management systems for fisheries, thereby improving food security in that area. Later this month, the initiative will launch the Strengthening Community Fisheries program in KAZA. With more details on this, I'm now joined by Team Community Fisheries Leader for KAZA, that is Britta Hackenberg. Good morning, ma'am, and welcome to Good Morning Namibia.
Good morning, and thanks very much for having me here.
Perhaps we should start off by talking about what exactly the Namibia Nature Foundation is and what this entity does.
So the Namibia Nature Foundation is an NGO. We were funded in 1987, and we are promoting sustainable development and the conservation of biological diversity for sustainable development for the benefit of Namibians for both the present and the future.
For lay people like myself, who might not know what KAZA is and what the link between KAZA and the Namibia Nature Foundation is, please talk to us about that.
So as Namibia Nature Foundation, we are also promoting the sustainable management of productive land and seascape, and we are working in the Kavango-Zambezi Transfrontier conservation area. That is a treaty between 5 partner countries, that is Namibia, Botswana, Angola, Zimbabwe and Zambia, for the benefit or for the purpose of promoting a worldwide world-class tourism destination through conservation of wildlife and for the benefit of the local communities on the ground. And one of the key features is that our landscape of the Kavango and Zambezi regions are transboundary in nature and as such share fisheries resources, and that is also what brings us to work on fisheries in this landscape.
Would you like to elaborate more on fisheries in KAZA?
So actually, you know, in the past, in the last decade, let me put it like that, there was first a rise in the fish stocks and then a decline. So that was because, you know, there was an abundance of fish because of the climate, because ephemeral lakes had filled up. And so communities and also people from outside had started enjoying the benefits of fish and started also exporting. So there was a flourishing fisheries production there. And people started using also gear that is not necessarily, is very effective, but also destructive. And that is the use of monofilament nets. And that caused also the decline together with some other factors of the fish stocks. And so, you know, suddenly people found themselves deprived of fish. So what was a staple food in the past for communities was suddenly not available. And people couldn't afford to buy fish or also eat fish. And that has brought the urgency of dealing with the fisheries issues because, yeah, people were missing also, you know, having fish as part of their livelihood. And so that's why we started engaging with communities on the ground to do something about those declining fish stocks.
Why, according to you, are these nets destructive?
You see, they are very efficient in terms of their how they catch fish, because the small fish can often also not escape. They're often small in mesh size, so often the juvenile fish are caught, and that's what is impacting on the next generation of fish stocks. But also, you know, the fish, what people say, it sounds funny, but the fish can't see them, and often, you know, the fish are just getting entangled. What's also the aim of fisheries, but that's why we're saying they're very effective, but they're very detrimental.
What are we talking about when we're referring to the concept of eco-fish?
Eco-fish is a program that is implemented by the EU Mauritius. I mean, Mauritius is far away, but they have had a call for proposal, and the whole overall program of eco-fish is aiming at enhancing sustainable fisheries management for the benefit of the blue economy in the eastern, southern Africa and the Indian Ocean. And as such, they are operating in that whole wider landscape, trying to improve policies, frameworks, but then also compliance, monitoring, surveillance. And the third pillar that they are promoting is sustainable management of small-scale fisheries. And as such, the NNF had applied for a grant, and we are awarded 1 out of 9 grants in the whole of Africa. And yeah, so partners there are the EU Mauritius, but also, for example, SADC as our main partner here.
Can you walk us through the successes, the highlights of the Namibia Nature Foundation, particularly in Kavango and Zambezi?
So over the last 1 or 2 decades, we have worked with the Ministry of Fisheries in Namibia, in those 2 regions, in order to engage communities on the ground to take ownership and take responsibility for the management of their resources. So communities are encouraged to identify areas that they feel would be beneficial to recover fish stocks, and they're putting out laws, rules and regulations for those specific areas. And the ministry acknowledges those rules, and they're gazetted as so-called fish reserves. So we have had 2 pilot projects, that is in Zikunga and Impalila Conservancy, where we have started working. And while there was also the same decline of fish stocks, there is a visible and feelable recovery of the fish stocks, and people are enjoying fish again. They're respecting the fish reserves, but they also feel like that recovering fish stocks spill over in the areas in the vicinity. And at the same time, also, it has become a prime destination for recreational angling again, and as such is also attracting people from outside to come and invest or bring money into the region.
Why is the buy-in by community members so absolutely crucial?
You know, the landscape is so vast, and the rivers are wide, and the floodplains are huge. And, you know, to do law enforcement in that wide landscape is incredibly difficult. So having communities on the ground to have ears and eyes to observe, and also to have the ownership of their resources and being proud of being riverine communities and protect their resources, is the only way how we can see that we can protect this common resource on the ground.
Ma'am, please talk to us about this envisaged launch of the program later this month.
Yes. So part of our past successes also included that we were trying to share the knowledge with our other partner countries in the KAZA landscape. And as such, under the strengthening community fisheries in KAZA, we are trying to enhance the fisheries in the wider landscape for the benefit of the communities and to improve socio-ecological resilience. So as such, we are building on our previous successes, and that is, for example, the governance. We are developing tools and guidelines that we are sharing with the partner states and also encouraging them to do the same in order for us to work on a shared transboundary level of fisheries management. We are creating awareness about the cultural and social value of fish, of people being proud of being riverine communities. It includes research and monitoring for improved adaptive management, because the more we know, the better we can make decisions that are looking at, or that are assisting enhancing the fisheries reserves. And we are also trying to encourage communities to create more fish reserves, and that is also building on our previous successes. Last but not least, we are having also the element of transboundary collaboration with our partners on all levels, on community levels, to engage in dialogues on how can we improve fish reserves and the management of fisheries in the whole wider region.
Notwithstanding those past successes and the prospects of more successes in future, there are prevailing challenges.
Yeah.
Can you touch on those briefly, please?
I mean, the whole law enforcement issue is a big challenge. How can we get more communities on the ground? That's why we are aiming to establish a network of fisheries, and not only one here and one there. And so that is definitely our biggest challenge. But we also feel at the same time communities are observing the successes of those earlier fish reserves, and they're coming to ask us for support, and as such are also really open-minded now to follow suit in that model.
And what are the prospects of fish becoming the staple food of these communities again?
I think they're pretty good. So at least, for those communities who have benefited already previously from the support, they already see that there's an increase in fish. And I think this is, fish recover normally relatively quickly as long as the habitats are intact. And as such, we are very positive that in a couple of years, we are seeing more fish available.
Ma'am, before we let you go, your concluding remarks this morning, please.
Yeah. So we are very proud to have our launch of the event on the 27th of April this month in Rundu, whereas we are engaging with our partners and our stakeholders to inform them about our project and to engage them in a dialogue for us to manage our beautiful wetlands and for the recovery of the fish stocks.
Frau Hackenberg, danke, dass Sie gekommen sind.
Vielen herzlichen Dank.
There you have it, Madame Britta Hackenberg, Team Community Fisheries leader at KAZA, talking to us about restoring fish as a staple food for these communities. We're back after the brief break.